What if I told you there is a creature on Earth that doesn't age like we do? A creature that, with every passing year, grows stronger, more fertile, and seemingly more unstoppable. No, this isn't a mythical beast from a fantasy novel. It's the lobster. Every living thing we know follows the same fundamental cycle: birth, growth, aging, and eventually death. Our cells wear down, our organs weaken, and after a while, the body just can't keep up. It's the unwritten law of biology, but it seems like lobsters didn't get the memo. You see, lobsters break all the rules when it comes to getting old. They don't experience aging in the same way humans, lions, or even insects do. Think about it. A 90-year-old human is frail compared to their younger self. But a 90-year-old lobster, it can still outmuscle a spry young one. For decades, scientists were baffled by this. They observed that older lobsters weren't weaker at all. In fact, they were bigger, stronger, and often even more fertile than the youngsters. How is that possible? The secret lies deep within their DNA, in an incredible enzyme called telomerase. Now, let me explain this simply. Imagine the tips of your shoelaces have little plastic caps to stop them from fraying. Your DNA has something similar called telomere. Every time your cells divide, these telomeres get a tiny bit shorter. Eventually, they get so short that the cell can't divide properly anymore. This is the cellular basis of aging. In most animals, including us, the production of telomerase, the enzyme that repairs these telomeres, shuts down in adulthood. That's when the clock of aging really starts ticking. But lobsters are different. They keep producing telomeres throughout their entire lives. This enzyme constantly repairs their DNA shoelace tips, allowing their cells to keep dividing cleanly, almost indefinitely. The result is astonishing. No cellular breakdown from old age. No egg-related diseases like we get. Their fertility doesn't drop. It actually increases. The older and bigger a female lobster gets, the more eggs she can produce. This is why you'll often hear people call them biologically immortal. They don't die of old age. But if they don't die of old age, why isn't the ocean floor crawling with gigantic, ancient lobsters? Well, there's a catch. A very big catch. It's called molting. Lobsters live inside a suit of armor, hard, rigid exoskeleton. It's great for protection, but it doesn't grow. So, to get bigger, a lobster has to shed its old shell and grow a new one. This process, molting, is the most dangerous and exhausting time in a lobster's life. As a lobster gets older and larger, its shell becomes thicker and heavier. Escaping it requires a massive amount of energy. Imagine trying to squeeze your entire body out of a suit of armor that is just a little too small while you're completely exhausted. It's an incredibly risky process. If a lobster fails to molt successfully, it can get stuck. Ironically, molting is also tied to their reproduction. It's during this vulnerable period that mating often occurs. A large female can release up to 100,000 eggs at a time, but the ocean is a tough place. Less than 1% of those eggs will survive to adulthood. So, lobsters are in a constant race. They need to molt to grow, but molting becomes harder and more dangerous with every single cycle, and they never, ever stop growing. A 50-year-old lobster can weigh over 20 pounds. To put that into perspective, imagine if humans grew like lobsters. By the age of 50, we'd be nearly 300 meters tall and weigh 3,000 tons. It's physically impossible. At some point, the sheer size of a lobster becomes unsustainable. The gaps between molts get longer and longer, sometimes stretching for years. Eventually, the energy cost becomes too high. The next molt just never comes. Without a fresh, clean shell, their old one starts to break down. They can develop shell disease, a nasty infection that eats away at their armor. Their internal organs become strained under their own immense weight. So, what about those legends of giant lobsters? Absolutely. The largest lobster ever officially recorded was caught off Nova Scotia back in 1977. It weighed a staggering 44 pounds and measured over 3.5 feet long. Another famous lobster, nicknamed George, was estimated to be around 140 years old before he was released back into the ocean. These colossal creatures are the rare survivors, the champions who won the molting lottery again and again. But even they are just one failed molt away from their end. So, let's get to the truth about their immortality. Lobsters don't die of old age in the way we understand it. Their cells don't give out. Instead, they die because their bodies can't keep up with their own endless growth. The very process that allows them to get bigger and stronger is also what ultimately leads to their downfall. The average lifespan in the wild is estimated to be around 31 years for males and 54 for females. Impressive, but far from eternal. The great irony of the lobster is this: they don't age out, they max out. They're not defying death itself. They're just defying time until the inescapable laws of physics and energy catch up with them. So the next time you hear someone say that lobsters are immortal, you'll know the full story. Immortality, it turns out, has its limits. And for the lobster, that limit is written in its own shell. Thanks for watching. If you found this fascinating, do you want to forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful world of biology. See you next time.